sense of morbid curiosity, I watched the first few minutes of one of these just to see what free thought blogs was going to bring to the atheist community.
Hello, I'm Mazakine. I often go by Cerberus online pretty much everywhere. My identifiers are a long list. I identify as a panromantic asexual. I identify as a trans woman. I identify as kinky. I identify as a feminist. I identify as polyamorous. I identify as a slut for political purposes. I am even kind of a gender by gender performance, i.e., masculinity, femininity don't really sit well with me.
Hi everybody. That was Thunderfoot there, of course, displaying his transphobia, his general ignorance of things he doesn't understand, which shouldn't surprise any of us by now. That is not what this video is really about. You don't need me to tell you Thunderfoot is a bigot. What is shocking, however, is this comment from DarkMatter2525, which was left on this video by Thunderfoot. And it reads, of course, as we can see here, quote, I have 786 labels split into 254 categories and 1,054 subcategories. I leave some empty categories in case I learn something new about my complex, special nature. Sadly, the butterfly and snowflake subcategories are full and require subcategories, which I will update here when I discover them. After being offended about something like tits in games are highly offensive. If someone here gives me $10,000, I will not post another comment here about tits in games. Cool, thanks. End quote. And that has, okay, is that right? 812 thumbs up. Okay, this is very disappointing for me. I've always been a big fan of Dark Matter. I've always, enjoyed his videos. I've enjoyed them for a number of years. Unfortunately, like a lot of these people who are famous for being atheists on YouTube, whenever they try and talk about something other than atheism, it's quite common that they do so very badly. And this is quite appalling, really. This is very disappointing. Because basically Dark Matter is making fun of this woman for assigning a lot of labels to herself. Which she admits herself. She admits there's a lot of labels she assigns to herself. He's making fun of this because he thinks she's just doing this to get attention, or to try and convince people she is somehow special. And you just think, wow. I mean, fuck you. Well, I mean, like Dark Matter, you and I, right, being cisgendered heterosexual men, we are considered in society to be the default. Okay, that's why you and I don't have to assign lots of labels to ourselves. People get what we are very easily. Everything is set up for us, things in society. Everything is set up to cater to our needs first and foremost. That is why some people have to describe their gender and their sexuality using a lot of labels, because their position is not the default. Society does not consider it the default. Therefore, they have to explain a lot about themselves. That's why all these unusual labels exist that people assign to themselves. And they assign them to themselves so they can identify their gender and their sexuality, and they can be identified by other people who might empathize with them, who might understand this position, which clearly isn't you in this case. And you're mocking that. You're mocking someone for having gotten a very firm grasp of who they are. The sort of grasp that you and I take for granted. We take it for granted that we have an understanding of who we are, because everything around us in our society reaffirms who we are. Everything around us in society is set up for the cisgendered and the heterosexual. That is why we don't feel this need to go and find our identity. It's already there for us. That's why we don't have to put all these labels on ourselves. For people who are not cisgendered or heterosexual, it's not as simple as that. Okay, society, everything around them is not reaffirming and confirming their view of themselves. Everything around them is telling them that they are wrong, that what they are is wrong, that what they are is abnormal. And as such, it, to me, is very positive when I see someone who is transgendered or is somewhere outside of the gender binary or has some kind of sexuality which is unusual. It is very positive for me to see that person being proud and happy about it, being able to proudly, happily, openly declare that they fully embrace who they are. They fully embrace their gender and their sexuality, rather than hiding away, feeling depressed about it, which is sadly very common. I think it's something like 50% of transgendered individuals will attempt suicide, I think, before their 20th birthday, which is quite horrifying. And that is why when I see someone who is proud, outspoken, and confident and happy about who they are, about being transgendered, or having any kind of unusual sexuality, I see that as a very positive thing. Because all too often we hear about people who are transgendered living in isolation, afraid to tell people about how they feel, afraid of how people will react, or people who have been bullied out of their communities, out of their homes, and who've been ostracized by people who just don't understand what they are. And that is very much the norm for people like this. It's very commonplace. And for you to mock someone who's actually gotten past that and gotten through that, and can show other transgendered individuals that it is possible to be confident, outgoing, happy, and proud of who you are. It is possible to achieve that. For you to just sort of mock that, or say, mock this person for being proud, or you find something ridiculous about how this person is proud of who they are, is pretty awful. And that's pretty fucking awful. I'm going to put this down to ignorance rather than hatred or anything, but why you particularly feel the need to sort of suck up to Thunderfoot on this is beyond me. So the question remains,
why are you so preoccupied with impressing bigots?